Hello and welcome. My name is Tarmo Ramel and I'm going to give you a short tutorial on using alignment tools in the suite of tools offered by Microsoft. So what we have open behind me right now is Microsoft Word, and I've clicked on the Insert tab and we have a whole series of drawing tools. And you'll notice that if I click to PowerPoint and I head over to the Insert tab, it looks quite similar. And similarly, when I click on Excel and I head up to the Insert tab, things look the same. So there are various differences and there are tools that are available in one product over the other, but we're going to look at some very specific tools today, which it doesn't matter where you're drawing and creating your presentation materials, the tools are the same. So let's work in Excel, just because I happen to have it open right now. I'm going to head down to the right hand corner. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that things look a little bit bigger and you can see what it is that I'm doing. I'm going to head up to the Shapes tool, and unfortunately it's going to pop up a window that is heading off the top of my screen, but I'm simply going to go up to the top and I'm going to choose a relatively simple shape. Let's say an oval. And I'm going to draw the oval, but I'm going to hold down the Shift key and it's going to make it a circle. If I let go of the Shift key, it allows me to make an oval, but holding down the Shift key, it forces it to be a perfect circle. So I'm going to drag this perfect circle onto the screen, and then I'm going to hold down Shift and Control, and while holding the left mouse button, I'm going to drag a copy of that shape off to the right hand side, and I might do this again for a third one. And you look at this and say, well, I have three shapes, they're now exactly the same, but the spacing between the first two and the second two is not the same, and that might be imbalanced. It might not look so great, and you say, well, I'd love to have them to be exact. So then what you might do is take the middle one, and while you hold your left mouse button down, you can drag this new circle to a new spot, but you can also hold down the Shift key while you're doing that, and it will allow you to move it only in the left, right, or up, down directions to help you get the spacing maybe a little bit better, but then you're still eyeballing it and you're like, is that the middle or is it a little bit farther off to the right? What makes sense? There's a better way to do that. We can be exact rather than approximate. And the way we do that is we select one of our shapes. We can then hold down the Control key, and then with our left mouse button, click on the other shape so that we have all three of them nicely highlighted. I'm going to go back down here and I'm going to zoom it in just a little bit more so it looks even better on your screens for you. We're going to be here on the Shape Format toolbar, or ribbon, and we're going to head over to the right hand side where there are the Align Objects tools, and when we click on this little button or this down arrow, we see that there are a whole series of options available to us. The one that I'd like to bring your attention to is Distribute Horizontally. So we have objects oriented in a horizontal fashion. We can click this button and it will automatically highlight or move them exactly in proper spacing horizontally. We're happy with that. We might want to then, again, holding down the Control key, select all three of these objects, and then while being over top of one of them, hit the right mouse button, and we can head up here to Group and Group. And what it does is it puts all of these objects into one container object, so that now notice that we have these white handles surrounding the entire unit, so that they now move around as a set. So that now when I take my mouse and I drag them around, or if I select, it selects all three of them, and the relative spacing between them doesn't have to accidentally get bumped or adjusted or nudged in any direction. So that's the first tool. I'm going to take this same set of circles, I'm going to hold down Shift and Control, and I'm going to make copies of those. I'm going to shift one over this way, and shift one over that way, one over this way, and I said, well, you know what? What I'd really like to have is have these things nicely spaced out in all directions so that they line up in a nice little grid. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so that we can see that pattern better on the screen. And I'm going to, first of all, eyeball these things into some kind of location that looks about right but might not be perfect, but it's close. You say, well, that might be good enough for me, but I don't really know if it's exactly how I want it. We already know that these things have been spaced out equally. Maybe what we want to do is get them spaced out in the opposite direction now. So I'm going to select these three. Well, let's just keep one offset a little bit. It's easier to see. We're going to hold down the control key. We're going to select all three of these things. We're going to head back up to the shape format toolbar, over to align, and now we're going to distribute them vertically. And it's going to adjust them so that now they're spaced equally in the up-down direction. But they're not lined up properly so that all of the center circles are on top of each other and the left ones are on top of each other. We can also do that with the Align tool. And we can say, let's align all of these selected objects along the center. And there we have everything nicely, neatly arranged in the centers. We can then select the first one, hold down Control, select the second and the third, right-click on these features, head on over to Group, and now we have everything in one group so that when I select them, everything moves around as one selected unit. What's really nice about this, if I wanted to resize something, I could put my mouse on one of these handles, and notice that the sort of regular crosshairs is an X. When I move my mouse across one of the handles, it changes into an arrow. Maybe you can see that better if I zoom in a lot and I scroll over the corner here. If I put my mouse into that corner, it becomes this two-directional arrow that says I can now drag my shape to resize it in those directions. Let's zoom back out so we can see what we're doing. Get the whole thing on the screen. I'm going to slide the whole thing over to the right a bit. I'm going to put my mouse on this bottom corner, holding down the left mouse button. I can now move or drag and increase. But notice as I increase the direction, it's going to sometimes warp my shape. I could do the same thing using this left handle, and I can move things in, squish them this way, or extend them out the other direction. But these white circles are handles, and they're telling me that I can only operate on that entire container. If I wanted to adjust only this blue circle, I could further click on it and notice that I now have a set of handles for this blue circle. I could adjust only that one circle, leave the other ones alone. So grouping allows you to work with a series of things at the same time. Alignment allows you to space things out so that they're equally spaced and they look really good. So stay tuned for more tips and tricks with some of the software tools that you're using, and we'll see you again soon.